World War I was fought between mainly Germany, Austria-Hungary, and Turkey against the French, Great Britain, Russia, Italy, Japan, and the United States, also known as the Allies. It took place between July 28, 1914 and November 11, 1918. This war was caused due to the assassination of Austrian Archduke Franz Ferdinand by the Southern nationalist Gavrilo Princip on June 28, 1914. This assassination caused tension, which is why it was the main cause of World War I. World War I had many battles, but the most significant were the First Battle of Marne, First Battle of Somme, and the Battle of Verdun.
First Battle of Marne was fought on December 6 in 1914. The French army was led by General Michael-Joseph Manoury, who was leading the attack on Germany's First Army. The battle was taking place around 30 miles from France. Germany started off invading Belgium, which at the time was neutral land in war, and was getting close to Paris, making French armies retreat after the Battle of the Frontiers at Lorraine. Government predicted the Germans would reach Paris by early September, so they convinced the French commander-in-chief, Joseph Joffre, to send French armies to protect the capital. During this time, Germany's First Army leader, General Alexander von Kluck, was disobeying his orders and forced his army to pursue the retreating French army.
General Kluck, we need you to meet up with the Fifth Army. There are possible attacks on their right flank coming from Paris.
I'll try to see if I can make my way over there. We are heading to cross the Marne River to attack the French Fifth Army.
Yes, sir.
Kluck's army crossed the Marne River on September 3rd. This caught the eye of a French general, which allowed the French to plan their attack on Germany quicker than they expected. On September 4th, the chief of the German General Staff learned that Kluck had disobeyed his orders and how they were running out of supplies during their trip crossing the river. General Helmuth von Moltke ordered two armies to go protect Kluck's army in case of an attack from the French, but it was too late. The morning of September 6th, the French army, which was made up of 150,000 soldiers, attacked Germany's First Army instead. The successful surprise attack from France and the Allies caused Germany to retreat to the Aisne River. This is where the entrenchment positions until 1918 lasted.
The beginning of July 1916 was a devastating and grim day in history. In an attempt to attack the Germans from the Western Front, British forces and allies began a war. This battle became known as one of the most tragic days in history because of the number of casualties that resulted, with over 57,000 deaths among the British force all in one day. The Battle of Somme began with artillery bombardments the British used in hope of destroying the barbed wire defending the Germans. 1.75 million artillery shells were used in this attack. After this, British forces approached 15 miles north of Somme, and their French allies approached 8 miles south of Somme.
Why is there barbed wires over there? Our artillery bombardment was useless.
With the barbed wire still intact, the Germans proved much stronger than expected. They were well positioned and spread out. Because of this, at the end of the day, 19,240 British soldiers died, with 38,000 injured. However, there was more success in the south, but not enough to account for the soldiers lost in the north. On July 15th, the British soldiers launched another artillery bombardment, taking the Germans by surprise. Their attack allowed them to advance. However, there were still more British soldiers dead than Germans. By the end of August, Germany's confidence was deteriorating, and General Erich von Falkenhayn stepped down, and Paul von Hindenburg and Erich Ludendorff became the new generals. As the new generals, we think we should use a new strategy.
We shall create a new defense in front of Somme.
Yes, this will allow us to protect our territory while also causing more damage to the British troops. Later in September, the British began using tanks, which allowed them to advance 1.5 miles. However, they still faced thousands of casualties. Soon after, in October, the weather began to affect the battlefields. The muddy battlefield made it much more difficult to get around and led to more deaths. Finally, in November, the Battle of Somme ended when the British surrendered. The Battle of Verdun, known as one of the longest, bloodiest battles, lasted from February 21st to December 18th, 1916. The German Chief of General Staff, Erich von Falkenhayn, originally planned to secure a victory on the German Western Front. Our next move must be smart with the French. We are going to be surrounding Verdun by the mountains near the east bank of the river. Our goal is to aim and use as few soldiers as possible, and I will have 1,200 artillery pieces prepared for the war. At 4 in the morning on February 21st, 1916, the battle began with the bombardment of German Troop 5 led by Crown Prince Wilhelm. The battle plan seems to be a success, as they captured Fort Douaumont with 5 days into battle. Even the French military leaders declared Verdun could not be held at the east bank of Meuse because they couldn't handle the loss of the city. However, at the same time, Crown Prince Wilhelm discontinued Falkenhayn's strategy and followed another offensive tactic, which would lead to the Germans losing with similar casualties to the French. On the other hand, General Philippe Pétain was given the command for the French Second Army at Verdun. He was known for being a master of defense and organizing troops to the supporting strongpoint, rather than having everyone be at the front line. The French also increased artillery, causing the Germans to suffer from incessant shelling. The Germans did not try to restore Falkenhayn's strategy afterwards, but the original plan and concept were lost, leading to the Germans being defeated by the French, even after the use of phosgene gas. The battle ended on December 15, 1916.
Okay, Kaylee, go.
That airplanes in the night sky like shooting stars. I could really use a wish right now, wish right now, wish right now.
Go.